What's up, the General Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by DraftKings. This is the Week 11 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson. A lot to get to today. As always, we'll hit, probably 20, 25 games in total on the card, including some Friday night games, and of course, the majority of Saturday's action. Before we get started, couple public service announcements. If you use Twitter, make sure you check out Playbook. It's a new betting bot from Action. Turn your screenshot into a bet slip. Super easy to use. You just at Playbook. Follow them on Twitter and just at them if you see a bet you like, or if you want them to create a bet, we'll create a bet slip for you automatically. You just click the link, bring you right to your book. Super easy, especially if you're looking to follow or create parlays or player props. Save you some time. We'll also have a quick slip link in the video and podcast description where you can find and tail some of the bets we discussed in today's episode, or you can visit actionnetwork.com/betnow. I'm also the new co-host of the Favorites podcast, which is returned with a new lineup. Myself, Kendra Middleton, and Brandon Kravitz. Episodes Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, bets, stories, a lot of fun, all centered around the NFL. We've hit a couple big parlays in a row, one a show, and then I talk through the NFL card in addition to what I'm doing with Chris Raybon on the Action Network podcast. Make sure you check that out. And if you have time right now, really appreciate it if you leave a 5-star review. Subscribe, you know the drill. And before we really get started, I'll throw to myself for a quick word from DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. And in partnership with DraftKings, BBOC listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. And 3 months of NBA League Pass. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. That's code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings for 3 months of NBA League Pass and $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. Quick recap of Maction. Oh my God. I went 0-2 in weekday Maction. I had Miami of Ohio plus 3.5. Closes 2.5. I think right side the entire game. They can't get in from the 1. They have a sack to end the game. There's a face mask. Ohio scores a touchdown on a play that there was about 7 penalties on. Infuriating game.
I upgraded Miami in the power ratings and downgraded Ohio despite the final score.
Yeah, not covering 3.5 there was something. And then I had Kent State plus 3. You want to talk about the right side? Didn't cover. That box score. Ball State had 230 yards, 3.8 yards per play. Kent State, 5 yards per play. 1 of 5 on 4th down. They had a 4th and 1 to end the game. Couldn't get it. Ball State scores on a 4th down touchdown pass in the final minute to win by 4. Kent State went 1 of 5 on 4th down. Went for it on 4th and goal from the 9 instead of kicking the field goal. They made a field goal, but had a legal formation, missed the redo. Incredible. Ball State was dreadful. Ball State's longest drive of the day, 50 yards. So 2 losers by a total of 1.5 points. I think I had the right side. But that's what happens in the MAC. Some bad officiating at the end of the Miami Ohio game was something. But that's the way it goes sometimes in college football. Just try to get the best number and then hope for some calls and some bounces. Dabo has been complaining about the refs, about accountability, which I actually agree with him on. That's ACC refs. The lower you go, go back to that Kennesaw UTEP game, that Ohio game, they missed 3 holds, the offensive pass. The lower you go, the worse it gets.
Yep.
So you just got to live with that sometimes. We're on to the weekend. Let's dive right in.
I'm proud of you for getting in, though, because I set live betting targets and they never got close.
Toledo, if you had Toledo, that was the clear right side.
Right. It hit 14.5, and I was like, well, maybe a 14 will pop live. Game was over.
And then Akron, obviously, was the clear right side.
Right.
Favorites went 4-0, but I did think Kent State, and even not being biased when I graded the games, Kent State and Miami of Ohio were the right sides. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Let's get into these games. We'll do it more rapid fire. There's not like wow banger games. So we'll try to get through as many as we can of the marquee games on the slate. Let's start with BYU at Texas Tech. BYU is a 10.5 point dog, total 52.5. I mean, look, it's been talked about a lot. There's a reason that Texas Tech is a 10.5 point favorite here at home against an 8-0 BYU team that's ranked ahead of them. BYU probably should have lost to Arizona. Got a little fortunate against Utah. I mean, the performance at Colorado wasn't even that impressive. It's a team that's been pretty fortunate. I mean, 4-0 turnover wins. They won the turnover about a 4-0 against Iowa State. And that win hasn't even aged that great. So, bit of a fraud to BYU. And Texas Tech has looked pretty dominant. I was really impressed with that win taking care of business in Manhattan last week. The offense just has so much more juice with Baron Morton. Although without Hammond, he's got to stay healthy. He's always an injury risk. And then if he gets hurt, you're down to Mitch Griffiths, the Wake Forest transfer. And then things could get a little dicier. But when you start, LJ Martin will go for BYU, which is important. Helps their rushing attack, keeps them a little bit more balanced.
I think he only has one leg, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how healthy he is. But if he can go, that would be helpful. The story of the game where you have to start with Tech is their defensive line. Their defensive, like, why Georgia and Alabama aren't as elite this year as usual is their defensive lines aren't as elite as they usually are. And you can look at the sack and the pressure numbers. I mean, Georgia is third worst in sack rate. The only two teams that are worse are Air Force and Georgia Southern because their front just isn't as elite as we're used to seeing. You know who has an elite front? It's Tech. Texas Tech has an elite SEC caliber defensive front. They went out in the portal. They paid for it. They hit. Rodriguez is also excellent at linebacker. So their front seven.
David Bailey, Romello Height, 95 pressures from the edge.
Yeah, menaces. So that's where it starts with Texas Tech, and that's why I think they're the class. The offense is good with Morton, but they're the class of the Big 12. Now, the secondary, I think, still has a bit more questions. Can Bear Bachmeier have enough time in the pocket? Can he avoid making mistakes? I think he might be a little overdue in that department to make a few. At 10, I lean Tech here, but I think it's pretty fairly priced. What are you seeing here?
I think it's extremely fairly priced. I make it 11, and I had
that's around where I am.
I wrote this up for action. I had a little bit of a hard time at the end. I got all the data in there, and then I get to the end, and I'm like, this all points to. And so I have to start with BYU and Bear Bachmeier, and I kid about LJ Martin only having one leg. It was an upper body injury that he suffered in the first half against Iowa State, but he's going to play, and they're going to need him because it's a zone read attack that's based upon the two of them mesh running the ball. And without that, you just have Bear Bachmeier doing quarterback, design run. And
because their depth at running back isn't great, and then there's also injuries behind him as well.
They don't have the juice. The rest of the running backs don't have the juice that LJ Martin does. So this is a heavy rush offense. I mean, that is what they take their pride in. They're sixth in offensive quality drives, which means they're almost always in scoring position. But if they don't have a healthy LJ Martin, that puts a big stump in it. Now, the passing, I just don't expect anything out of BYU's pass unit. Texas Tech is graded as the best coverage unit per PFF. Not to say that Bear Bachmeier can't pull some rabbits out of a hat here, but like I said, Bailey and Height, 95 pressures from the edge. Texas Tech went deep into the portal with money, and they went and got, they got the best defense that they could buy. I think the question is can those guys maintain pass lane integrity, right? We've seen edges get so far up the field that quarterbacks can take off up the gut. That is the Bear Bachmeier specialty, is taking off up the gut, but that might be the offense. When you go to the other side of the ball, Jay Hill just that defense, that nickel defense just shuts down the pass. They're top 25 in success rate, top 25 in creating contested catches. So, Baron Morton's only seen 50 pressures this season, and BYU does not allow pressure. Or I'm sorry, they do not apply pressure whatsoever. So
they got to do that via blitz.
Yeah. So both sides of the ball here. I don't see Texas Tech rush offense moving the ball against BYU, and the BYU defense thrives against the pass. I don't see BYU getting anything done in the pass, and the Bear heroics are going to be needed for them to generate any scoring opportunities. And by the way, Texas Tech dominates zone read at 65% success rate. Everything points to me that these offenses are going to have major issues in the first few series getting on track I took the under. I like the under, although I do project it just a little bit higher. I don't know how these offenses get going because they're running into the teeth of what the other teams do best.
Yeah, my only pushback, I don't mind the under here. My only pushback would be has like the BYU pass defense, have they really been tested?
Well, they play so many guys back. They don't have a pass rush because they don't rush. They don't send extra stunts. They play, it's a nickel defense, but they just create this. They don't want anybody to get behind them. So they'll give up an 8-yard run.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying this will definitely be the best passing attack. Like,
yeah,
they played West Virginia when West Virginia used a running quarterback. They played Colorado, Stanford, Portland State, ECU. I guess is a decent passing attack, but they're Group of 5 caliber. In that game, Hauser, he did throw for 300. They just turned the ball over. Arizona has a decent passing attack. And they did a pretty good job against Fafita, who only threw for like 200 yards on 45 attempts. But Utah doesn't really have the juice at receiver.
Right.
Neither does Iowa State. And I mean, Beck threw for 300. But having said all of that, the caliber of competition from a passing talent standpoint hasn't been great. So maybe you get some explosives from Tech as a result. But I don't mind with your look.
That's where the game gets decided. That's where the game gets decided because Texas Tech can't run the ball. I mean, they're 124th in line yards. Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey are like 3.5 yards after first contact.
It's like an inefficient explosive rush. Like they hunt for explosives, but it's not very efficient on a down-to-down basis. But
exactly.
At 10, I lean Tech, but I don't think there's any great value. Texas A&M at Missouri. Texas A&M a 7-point favorite here. You're going to get the third-string quarterback for Missouri, Matty Zollers. He looked okay against Vandy. I really don't know what to expect here. So there's a couple angles worth mentioning. One, I mean, I guess the spot on the surface favors Missouri. Like you have Texas A&M doesn't even really need this game. Missouri, you're probably going to get an all-out effort against an undefeated team at home, coming off of a bye. I think one of the keys to this game is what does the script look like? Because Texas A&M probably doesn't know what to anticipate, and Missouri has to get off to a fast start here. This is just, I think 7's the perfect number. This is just hard. What are we going to get from Zollers? Also, he's not as good of a runner as Prbula, so that's going to hurt Hardy and the overall rushing attack. Additionally, on the other side of the ball, one of the reasons that Texas A&M is so good this year is their offensive line is one of the best in the country. Missouri's defense is all about those stud edge rushers and generating pressure. They're shaky on the back end. So if A&M is able to pass protect and hold that pass rush in check, there's going to be opportunities for A&M to hit some explosive passing plays, as they've done against almost everybody. A&M's been a second-half team all year. So I could see a look at like Missouri first half because they're going to need to get off to a fast start. They're going to need a good script here. But I also could see it going downhill. It all comes down to Zollers. Like, what's he going to look like? Does he, if it's a complete disaster, this is A&M by 20 plus. If he can get off to a fast start, the script is good. They can get a lead going into the half. They can be feisty and cover here and maybe even pull out the outright win. Norfleet, their tight end, also is questionable, who's worth mentioning. It is a tough game. It's at 7, I think, like if I had to bet it, I guess I would take A&M just because you don't know what you're going to get with this quarterback. And I think, but if he goes down, with an injury, I mean, you're talking walk-ons. There's Brett Brown, he's a walk-on. Drew Lock's nephew. How old are we? Drew Lock's nephew's a walk-on quarterback on the team. Tommy Locke. But I think Spot says Missouri, but a lot of uncertainty with the quarterback situation, and A&M certainly can block Missouri, which could present some problems for the back end on the Tigers. What are you seeing here?
Wouldn't be the first time an SEC team went to the intramural field to find a quarterback. I know Arkansas has done that before. I make the game 4.5 if Prbula would have played.
Yeah, that's what is it? I'm using 3
right
as a drop off,
and I just I watched the film of I watched Zollers 14 of 24, and I mean I thought he looked for a 4-star He got it. He zipped it. It didn't look like there were holes. He didn't look scared. Now he gets, a bunch of practice with the ones to see what he can do here. So I'm not really sure there's that big of a drop off because I didn't think
Yeah, I
Pavula
use 3. I don't think his arm is a drop off. Like Pavula
Right.
didn't have an elite arm, and he wasn't like ripping the world on. He wasn't torching the world on fire with this Missouri passing attack. Where it could be a drop off is obviously it's a freshman, so you don't know. But is the rushing attack much worse off and less efficient? Like this is Missouri's kind of like a service academy team because I mean you look they're averaging 25 more plays a game than their opponent. Like that's insane. That's kind of how they play. But now if you don't have a mobile quarterback and Hardy who's kind of disappeared of late, but not having to worry about the mobile quarterback, does that hurt Hardy? And then it's easier to defend their run game. And then you're down to the freshman having to throw more, which isn't really Missouri's identity. So I use 3, which is why I'm at like around 7, a little over 7.
So I think this actually does come down to Zollers' arm. And the reason because Ahmad Hardy, he's been declining week after week. He finally gets some rest. We'll see if he can come back with outside zone.
That's true.
The problem is Texas A&M, if you look in their run concepts on defense, as bad as they've been in some areas on defense, they actually have a 56% success rate against outside zone against teams using 12 personnel. That's how Drink runs Hardy with outside zone is with 12 personnel. And Texas A&M is actually pretty good about that. The problem I have with Texas A&M is this broken tackles. They're horrible at tackling. I mean, they're 107th in broken tackles allowed, and they're dead last in defensive finishing drives. I can't take a team and swallow points on the road when you're dead last in defensive finishing drives. So I love Texas A&M, but you got to be able to have a shootout. And I have a bigger problem on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to Missouri. I have a problem with Texas A&M's offense, and Lord knows I'm the one that's been tooting about Texas A&M's offense all season. And
I was before you.
You got to look at Marcel Reed hitting Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion. Can somebody stop that? Missouri's D is one of the best in havoc in the nation. Top 5, tackles for loss galore, and their edges, Damon Wilson II and Zion Young have 63 combined pressures. That's great. But can they tackle in space? Yes. Per Sports Info Solutions, they are 4th in broken tackles allowed. That is key against Texas A&M. They don't miss tackles, and when they get them, they wrap them up and take them down. You have to do that against Concepcion and Craver. So I expect the Missouri D to shove a few hurdles in front of this high-powered offense. I expect Zollers to not be as rattled as what we think. I don't think it's a big drop-off. I think 4.5, 5 is a good number, which means I've taken Missouri on open. I might take him again at 7. Like you said, Texas A&M may figure out a different game plan at half, and I can buy out of that. But I'm taking Missouri to end this game at kickoff.
I'd also be worried about Missouri special teams. Their kicking, their special teams are bad. Texas A&M pretty good in that department. That is something to keep in mind.
Concepcion runs everything back.
Yeah. Missouri's defensive line has to show up here.
Yeah.
They're going up against a really good offensive line. That's what you have to watch here. And you'll know early on if they're able to make a dent. Because I'm not sure that the Missouri secondary has benefited from that defensive line creating so much havoc and pressure. If they're not able to do that, I'm not sure.
They helped get Jackson Arnold benched and Hugh Freeze fired, Missouri's defensive line. So
yeah, I mean, look at they did against Alabama too. All kinds of pressure. Oregon at Iowa. It's a good one. Can't wait for this.
Did you put in on Iowa?
Yes, sir.
That's what I
thought. You joining me head to head? Agree?
Let's go through this. Maybe at the end, I might go against you.
Wow. I like Iowa. I make it 4, so I'm in at 6 or better. It's fine with me. I probably should have waited. I have to prep for college. I can't sit in front of the screen while I'm doing all my work. I'm prepping for college football. I saw 6, bet 6. In previous weeks, I probably would have waited. It might hit 7. I don't think it does. If it does, it'll get bought immediately.
Yeah.
What's that?
I would even buy it at 7. Like I like Oregon, but I buy it at 7. Yeah.
You're at 6.5. I can see some sharper money coming in late, settling at 6. But this comes down to: are you a believer in Oregon or are you not? If you think Oregon's a top 5 elite team, you might like Oregon on the number here. I do not. I didn't think that coming into the year. I was willing to change my mind after the Penn State game. Have we seen Penn State since? I mean, they haven't won a game in 2 months. So that, I think, was more about Penn State. I mean, the fact that Oregon only scored 17 points is pretty troubling. Their only other game that's worth anything since then. I mean, they played Rutgers and Oak State, the 2 worst Power 4 defenses. The only other game worth anything was Indiana, and they didn't look great. They didn't even look great against Wisconsin. But both of these teams did play Indiana. Iowa at home. Iowa had the ball with a chance to win. Oregon did not, and they had a defensive touchdown. I'm not a believer in this offense yet. I'm not a believer in Dante Moore yet. I need to see it on a down basis because you're going up against this Phil Parker 4-2-5 zone heavy defense. Every year they're going to be 1 or 2 and explosives allowed. They're going to make you drive the field. I need to see it from this Oregon offense and these young freshmen who have kind of disappeared of late. Outside of that Rutgers explosion, whenever they played a defense with a pulse, this offense has looked pretty pedestrian. This Iowa defense has figured it out. They're playing at an elite level. I mean, the fact that they held Indiana to 13 points until the final minute of the game.
Mm-hmm. Who else has done that?
Yeah, speaks volumes. This defense is top 5 defense, adjusted for opponent. Offensively, still limited. I mean, this is a team, they haven't thrown for 300 yards in over 70 games, which is insane. Their weapons on the outside aren't great, but the offense is growing. They are able to run the ball. They have a really good offensive line. I think that's the best way to attack this Oregon defense is on the ground. And Iowa will do that here. And this Oregon defense, they're just not creating many negative plays. They haven't been doing that in a month or so. So I think Iowa will be able to play its game here. And by the way, this total is down to 40, lowest Oregon total over the past 25 years. I don't have any data before then. But since at least 2000. Crazy to see an Oregon total sitting.
I thought you and I had a bet on an Iowa 38-ish like last year.
No, Oregon total.
Oregon, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa, there's been some Iowa 33 totals. But yeah, part of the reason, weather. So
yeah,
it's going to be cold, windy, rainy. If it gets a little colder, it could be some snow later in the game, which would be fun. But I think it's just going to be cold, windy, and rainy. I think that the field condition, that favors Iowa and how they want to play, limiting the speed of Oregon. But I just think Iowa will be able to control the ball, stay ahead of the chains. They'll be able to run the ball, use Gronowski's legs, and I think their defense will hold up. I need to see this from Dante Moore. And then you throw in the weather, the conditions, the home field, and then what's the big advantage that most people will forget to talk about? Special teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Oregon special teams are okay, not great. Iowa's the best special teams in the country. There will be a time when because I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Points are at a premium. I think that makes the dog even more intriguing. There will be a time when you want to pull your hair out, when it's 4th and 2 at the Oregon 48. Iowa has the ball, and they punt it. And for most teams, it's the wrong decision. For Iowa, it's correct. Because most times, they'll pin them at the 1, and then there'll be a 3 and out or a safety, or Oregon punts back the other way, then Iowa returns the punt 40 yards for a touchdown, and then you're like, what just happened? The field position, the kicking, the punting, the returning, all of those hidden yards. That's how Iowa wins these games. Kirk, I think, is 5-1 straight up in November over top 10 teams. He is 7-3 against the spread. It's a home dog of 6 or more, covering by an average of 9 points per game. I think he's pulled off 3 or 4 upsets, lost a couple others by 2 points. I just think this is a game where Iowa can play its game. 20-17, Iowa.
So I made it 5.5, and when 5.5 was out there, I wanted to fire, but I didn't know which way it was going to go. I wanted to fire on Oregon because I would have said 6 or 7. Before I get into this, I have this hunch, this feeling, and I want to go find a prop and bet it. What number would you need for Dante Moore pick 6? Because it just feels.
Oh, that's common.
It feels so right, doesn't it?
It's
coming. Yeah, I think it's coming. If anybody out there is listening, I'm going to be searching all week, and if you can find a Dante Moore pick 6, take it. I feel like this is the one. He didn't even
Iowa defense first touchdown.
Yeah, I would take that too. I mean, if you can find that 20-1 or 15-1, that would be galore. Listen,
because you have special teams in there too.
Yeah. Dante Moore failed to record a TD pass or a big time throw against Wisconsin, so I don't know what's going on. What I do know is that Iowa is fantastic.
600. That's it. Oh no, that's anytime.
I
like Iowa anytime. D special teams 6 plus 600. I mean
that's got to be a bet, right?
And then 22-1 first touchdown.
I think I'm going to
I
put
like
that
a
in half.
sprinkle on any time Oregon touchdown. That's
Anytime you put a quarter unit in, you can win a unit and a half.
yeah, that's fine. Because you got special teams in there too. Like that's what makes it even more valuable.
That's good. Okay, so look, I don't know what's going on with Dante Moore, but he did not have a good game against Wisconsin. More importantly, Iowa is 15th in coverage. They are top 30 in contested catch. I just don't think it's going to be a good day. Plus, they don't miss tackles. So even if DeCorian Moore gets it behind the line of scrimmage, I think, Oregon's going to have, the only way Oregon is going to score here is if DeCorian Moore is juking Iowa defenders out of their shoes. Not likely, but the other aspect where I think Oregon can move the ball and why I like them is that Jordan Davison is up to 10 rushing TDs on the season. He is the key to this game. Iowa is mid FBS in success rate allowed against the rush and in defensive line yards. That tells me that Oregon is going to be able to move the ball on the ground, and their 41% success rate against man block concepts, which is how Davidson runs. I like him over his 40 yards rushing prop. The Oregon D has serious problems stopping the run. Gronowski, Moulton, this is a game made for them. 7.4 yards per play against Penn State, 5.8 yards per play against Wisconsin. I mean, Iowa's offense on the ground is really going. And by the way, they've had 23 runs over 10 yards this season. And this has all just happened within the last couple of weeks. The question is, can Iowa stay in standard downs? They are horrible in passing downs. If you get them behind the chains, Gronowski is 121st in on-target rate. He's one of the most inaccurate passers in all of FBS. Iowa has to stay in standard downs, and because of the way they run the ball, because of what Oregon's D does against that, I think they will. I think Iowa's going to be in scoring position. They don't miss tackles in space. Gronowski, Moulton, scoring position. Listen, I think this is set up for me to be an over. I bet over 40.5 in the app. I bet it again. Today, it got published on Action Network, and then today it's blown up to 41.5 and 42. If you have a 41.5 out there, take the juice down to minus 120 because 41 is one of the biggest keys. If it's 42, just swallow it. But I make this thing all the way up to 50. I think special team touchdowns are in play. I think defensive touchdowns are in play. I think Oregon's going to be able to move the ball on the ground and get in scoring position. I think that Iowa offense is going to give Oregon a lot of problems on the interior. So I see scoring. More scoring than 40 points is what I see. So I like the over.
I will say these teams have three common opponents. Oregon, much more impressive against Rutgers than Iowa, but Iowa, much more impressive against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And much more impressive against Indiana.
I think Iowa's a different team the last 3 weeks.
Their offense is starting to come on. Gronowski is, I think, healthier, which is important, and settling into that offense. And Phil Parker has that defense balling out. And the special teams are going to show up. So do you want to go head-to-head or no?
Not at 6.5.
What about at 6?
Yeah.
6?
I think 6 is the perfect number. I think Oregon wins by 6. It's head on, so I'll take that with you. I think we should put it on the board that we agree there's a Dante Moore pick 6. I mean, I don't
note that.
I mean, I don't know if we'll take a loss for it, but I mean, I'm running with that this week.
All right, let's see if you have the cojones to join me on this one.
Oh boy.
Penn State plus 14.5.
This is the first bet I put in. It went the other way. Put it on the board.
It's back down. It's getting hit.
Yeah. I was so upset when it went to 15.
Yeah, I got 14.5 too. That's what we'll put it in plus 14.5. I think it's just some of the sharper shops. It's coming down.
Yeah,
we're going to see 14 soon.
Let's hear your reasoning because I got mine.
All right, so I mean, basically, number one, this is a pure market play. So I make this under 2 touchdowns.
Yep, me too.
And the market told us last week. Let's just do some math. Penn State closed 17 at Ohio State. We'll call the home fields for both of those teams 3.5 points. I'm a little higher, but I think that's fair. 7-point swing from Columbus to Happy Valley. So last week, closing line of 17 assumed Ohio State would be a 10-point favorite in Happy Valley. Well, Ohio State dominated that game. Second half dominated. So we'll call it an adjustment. We'll call it 11.5. Now, Indiana is favored by over 2 touchdowns. I have Ohio State at least a field goal better than Indiana. I have Indiana as the second best team in the country by at least a field goal as well. And if you disagree with that, the market just opened the Big Ten championship game. That projected line is Ohio State minus 3.5, minus 115. So based on that logic, this line is way out of whack. It should not be over 2 touchdowns, and I don't think it should be over 2 touchdowns. So I played it. I'm not afraid to fade any team. I'm not afraid to bet on any bad team.
You've been in front of Cignetti before?
Yeah, I've faded Cignetti successfully. He's also cost me money. Cost me money last week. Could again here. Never afraid to come and say it. We'll have a ton of voicemail callers if we do. Great. We'll face the music on Sunday. And none of them will call if Penn State covers. Also, I think this is like Penn State Super Bowl. This is it for them. The whole season is washed. Like, there's nothing else to play for. Like, now you can upset the number 2 team undefeated on the season. Penn State also has a little bit of a run game, which Maryland had none of. That was one of the things I didn't like that I mentioned last week. When you have a big dog that can't run the ball, Penn State's pass defense is still pretty good. The run defense has fallen off a cliff. I think that's just the loss of Rojas. So maybe that encourages Indiana to just run it more, which would help. And Grunkemeyer, I mean, he did look a little better last week, and he's going to get better with more reps. This is a kid. Did you talk about walking into the worst possible situation? His first 2 career starts as a freshman are at Iowa and at Ohio State, a top 5 D and the best D in the country on the road. Now, Indiana, I think, is a top 5 D as well, but this is at home. He has 2 games under his belt. I think he should be a little bit more comfortable here. Indiana's also not healthy. Like Surratt, who's an NFL receiver, he has dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't know why you would push him here. Their star left guard, Drew Evans, he's not going to play. Fisher, their star linebacker, I think he's going to play, but he's dealing with an injury.
Right.
I mean, Cignetti came out and said they're banged up. Well, this is kind of what happens when you try to beat everyone by 50 and everyone's playing late into the game. Meanwhile, Ohio State is taking the opposite approach. So we'll see if that ends up hurting Indiana in the end. Ohio State just going super slow, and they're kind of managing the season a lot better than Indiana. So they're not even fully healthy here. Penn State, pretty healthy going into this game. I just think the number's too high to mark. I mean, just based on the market, based on my numbers, what I've seen the last week, I'm rolling with Penn State. Need 14.5, need over 2 touchdowns, but we're rolling with we are, and don't have to bet on James Franklin this time.
It's interesting psychology if Cignetti's been putting up these 50 burgers to get to the number 2 spot in the college football playoff ranking and then take his foot off the gas. Because essentially you're going up against Penn State, who is a shell of what they used to be, Purdue and Wisconsin, and you should roll right into that Big Ten championship game. So I'm wondering if the foot comes off, the pedal, and we try to get guys a little bit more healthy and just win games.
I mean, that's what their main concern should be.
And I think Cignetti's smart enough to realize that I've done enough Bobby Bowden 1980 score 70 points so that I'm number 1 in the AP poll. I think there's been enough of that. Now maybe you take your foot off the gas. But if you want to go X's and O's about why I think Penn State's going to cover this game, despite losing 5 straight, they're running the ball pretty well. Allen and Singleton have a TD apiece against Ohio State. Keyshawn Allen by himself had 145 yards against Iowa with 2 TDs and another 90 against Northwestern. For all of Indiana's stat stuffers, and they look like they should advance to the national title and how great they look, their defense is still 30th in defensive line yards, and they're 124th against rush EPA. Teams are getting a couple of big runs on them, and that's what Penn State's been doing. The Penn State defense has been dominated from a success rate perspective. It got kind of ugly, especially in the second half. But guess what? They're 30th in creating and contested catch. And all
this defense is still good.
And all this talk of Fernando Mendoza being a Heisman winner, and I get it. It's like, I've watched a couple of my favorite shows early in the week here. The dude that does college football, Mendoza's at the top of everyone's Heisman chart. He's 43rd in on-target rate. I mean, he's not the most accurate in college football. He's closer to the middle of the pack than he is to the top of the pack. So, if you're going to say some negative things about Indiana, Mendoza's not as great from his numbers from an accuracy perspective, and their rush defense isn't as great as everybody thinks that it is, and Penn State's been running the ball pretty well. I make it 11.5. I liked the 14, 14.5, whatever, 14 above.
It's on the board. Maybe Sig will run it up. Pad Mendoza. Whatever. Won't be my first or last losing bet.
But I would take that 3.5 against Ohio State.
I think I would take the 3.5. Also, like, you're probably going to get a 100% Indiana crowd. The game means a lot more to Indiana. So I don't know. We have a long way to go until then. All right, let's move on. By the way, Indiana also is number 1 in turnover margin per game. So, I mean, even last week they got
Well,
Maryland was just dropping the ball and giving them touchdowns. So
I
maybe
keep making that havoc chart, and it's like Indiana is way over in the corner, and then there's everybody else.
yeah, there's gonna be a game where everyone just doesn't drop the ball on them. Defense is really good. I love watching Kamara and Pons, and they have a top 5 day. I just think the line's too high. All right, moving on. Georgia at Mississippi State. Here's one where the market disagrees with me, and I don't care. I like Mississippi State. Anything over a touchdown.
Really? I'll go ahead with you.
Okay.
Wow.
So I will say, I say this every single week. This Georgia team is not elite. Now, part of this bet is I just wanted over a touchdown because I'm going to look to bet Georgia live. And I will be doing that. Georgia goes down until I see otherwise. They come out flat. And by the way, this is a terrible spot. They had that.
Yeah, Texas.
Texas on deck. They had that emotional come from behind win. Now they go to Stark Vegas. Mississippi State with a chance to go to a bowl. This is probably their best chance remaining. Be huge for them after winning 2 games last year. And Mississippi State, they've played with everybody. Like, who have they not competed with besides Texas A&M? And that game was 7-3 at the end of the third quarter. They lost. They should have beat Tennessee. They lost in overtime. Who else? They should have beat Texas, up 17 in the fourth quarter. This is a team that they should have beat Florida. They throw a pick in field goal range. These two teams, in the past 2 weeks, they each went to Florida, and they were both coin flip games. Meanwhile, Georgia, I mean, how many calls are they going to get every week? Benefit from calls last week, benefit from calls against Auburn.
Kirby was clapping.
Easily could have lost against Tennessee in this field goal. Like, this team could have 3 or 4 losses. They are not. Their defense is not elite. Their defense is far from elite. They cannot generate pressure. They have issues on the back end in zone coverage. Now, every year we saw Kirby Smart's defenses dominate Josh Heupel offenses. Not this year. Carved up by Joey Aguilar. Well, they're facing a similar offense here. What's going to change? Their zone coverages are all messed up on the back end. They can't get pressure. So Shapen's going to have time. I think Mississippi State's going to move it. I think they're going to get a lead early, and then I'll look to come in on Georgia live. It's the same exact formula. And one of these weeks, Georgia is not going to get all the calls. Yeah. I also think they missed Colby Young. And even last week against Florida, Lagway looked awful. Florida was missing all kinds of receivers, had more receivers get hurt. They get 2 horrible calls that flip the game, and they still had a chance to win the game. Like, this Georgia team, any week, they could lose. And by the way, to put numbers to it, in the first quarter in their 6 SEC games, they've been outscored 52-17. If you remove the Kentucky game. If you keep the Kentucky game in 52-31. In their fourth quarters, they've outscored them 48-23. It's almost a complete 180. It's the Kirby adjustments. Kirby has been dragging this team. Stockton's played well too, but dragging this team and this defense to victories. The best in-game adjuster in the sport. The market thinks Georgia is way better than I do. I'm happy to bet them whenever I see above a touchdown. Happy to bet against them with an SEC team, especially in a good spot. And I will look to come in on Georgia live. Maybe this is the game Georgia comes out and they're up 14-0. But I think Mississippi State can move it on them. And give me their dog. Yeah.
I mean, I'll go head to head with you on it. But in the app, everyone should know I'm going to wait for Mississippi State to either take a lead or have a tie ball game to get that number below 7 before I hit it for a pretty quantifiable amount of cheddar. So, look, first off, Kirby is feeding this team all the motivation in the world for being 5th in the college football playoff rankings. You are not a bye week team. You are not getting a bye in the playoff. Huge motivator there. I've already heard it been talked about. It's tough to ignore what the SEC trenches have done to Mississippi State in 4 straight losses before Arkansas gave them a game, right? Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, Texas, they lost yards per play to all of them, including Arkansas. Mississippi State is 134th in defensive line yards, 126 in creating a pass rush. Georgia will have a TD on every single possession that crosses the 40-yard line. They are an offensive finishing drives machine. 7th right now, it's Stockton just tucking the ball and going at it. The way to attack Georgia is through the air. And, Blake Shapen was shook up a little bit against Arkansas, came out. Kamario Taylor took over for a little while. We'll see how healthy Shapen is. I think Fluff Bothwell is going to have some real problems getting out in space here. The big handicap, why I took Georgia against some other bigger teams like Tennessee, is because they're 15th in broken tackles allowed. Like, they just don't miss tackles. They may allow you to have an explosive play, but once they get to you, they don't let you go. So I see a massive trench advantage for the Georgia offensive line. And I don't see Mississippi State able to create extra yards after the catch or extra yards after first touch. And I think this gets away from them. And I know Kirby's feeding them. You are not a college football playoff bye week team.
That's still not going to give them a pass rush. It's still not going to fix their coverage issues. I mean, we said this about Tennessee. We said, Kirby always shuts down Tennessee. Tennessee put a 40 burger on them. Tennessee could never score more than 17. Like every week we see with this Georgia offense, like the Ole Miss thing, they had revenge from last year. They are getting blown out in the first half of that game after the biggest loss of Kirby's career last year. Georgia comes out and Ole Miss torches them. This Georgia defense is not it. Shapen isn't healthy. That changes the equation.
Texas, though. Yeah, because Camario is all on the ground. Camario looked good when he played against Arkansas, but he's all on the ground. Shapen he did come back in the game, but he was pretty shook up. By the way, let's just get this out of the way. I'm betting Texas against Georgia. I might hit a look-ahead line.
Auburn at Vandy. This is a tough stretch. Vandy 6.5-point favorite here. I'd lean under here. I mean, Vanderbilt, man, they've gone.
Did you tweet me they were out of gas and then they found a gas tank? Is that what happened?
I don't know how that happened, but they've gone Bama, but then by LSU, Missouri, Texas. Now before their bye, they have Auburn. Auburn's defense can ball. Coaching change here. One play caller. How much does that do? Can they actually score? But the Auburn defense is legit. Anyone they go up against, you're not going to get much on offensively. And this Vandy offense has kind of hit a little bit of snag of late. And can Auburn score enough? I don't know. Vandy's not going to be able to run the ball here, I'll tell you that. But I don't know if I trust the Auburn. You could get a coaching bump, like the play calling, having one guy in charge and maybe some new wrinkles. We have seen that. Teams with a new coach, the first game after that against FBS teams this year, 7-1 against the spread. We saw it with Florida last week against Georgia. You see anything here?
I'm not sure DJ Durkin inspires me to play much better, especially since he's just come out and said the tight end coach. Who's calling the plays? Oh, no, Derek Nix is calling the plays, and it's like we're not changing anything whatsoever. Ashton Daniels is going to be QB1. I think the side and the total are exactly where they should be, but I do have a play in this game. If you look, there are a couple of notes you should know, like season-long starter Connor Lew, the center, was missing. They're taking their right tackle, Mason Murphy, moved him into center. He's been at center all week, and then they've taken backup guard Isavian Miller, and they put him in at right tackle. So there is some offensive line things that have changed for Auburn that you should need to know about. But Daniels so far doesn't have any big-time throws or TDs, and this offense has been dead last in pass EPA. So I don't know what you're going to get out of this Auburn offense. On the other side of the ball, like Auburn's defense has been top 10 in everything, stopping the run, high success rate, things that Vandy wants to do, like man counter from Pavia and outside zone from Alexander. They're able to stop that all day. But where they fall apart is against the pass. They're 118th in coverage grading. So earlier today in the action app, I did put in a bet, and I'm back on the train. Diego over 206.5 passing yards. And it's actually pretty easy for me to tell you why. Auburn's defense has given up more than 206.5 passing yards to Taylon Green, Bo Perbula, Gunnar Stockton, Marcel Reed in 4 of the last 5 weeks. Who didn't get over that mark? Cutter Boley, because Cutter Boley only threw the ball like 10 times. But I'm telling you, like, I think Pavia passing the ball is the key to tearing up this Auburn defense, and it's going to happen all day because he won't be able to run against them. So I like Diego throwing here.
Staying in the SEC, LSU at Alabama. This has to be the least hyped LSU-Alabama game I can ever remember. Alabama laying 10.5 here. Or 10, I think there's only... Is there any... I think 10 is the...
I think it came down to 9.5 like an hour ago.
Yeah, I did see it get hit. I didn't know if it came back up. Let me see.
But our DraftKings is at 10. It did go down to 9.5 on DraftKings at 11:22 and came back up an hour later. So maybe somebody is shaping a 9.5.
It looks like 10. I played LSU small. 10. I had 10. I'd still play them small. I'm at like 8 here. With Weeks, it doesn't look like he's going to play, which sucks. I was counting on him playing after the bye. That hurts. But again, like Georgia, I think Alabama's overrated. Don't think they're elite. Is a team that, go look at all their results. Most of them could have went either way. Like they probably should have lost at South Carolina. They got blown out at Florida State. The Vandy game was really close. The Georgia game, Georgia had a chance to win that game. The Tennessee game, the Missouri game could have went either way. They can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. They can't generate pressure. Simpson's playing really well, but this LSU defense is still elite. They can get after you. And there's going to be sacks. And Bama struggled a bit against the blitz. You know you're going to get that here. I think there's a real – and here's the thing. This is like my South Carolina handicap. The LSU offense has been crippled by their offensive line every week. But when you play Bama, that's okay. You should be able to have some balance. They're not going to crush you. They're not going to just overwhelm. They're not going to overwhelm Garrett Nussmeier. And by the way, I think there's a real coaching bump here. Everything I've heard, and you just use common sense. No one liked Kelly. It was toxic. I think it's going to be a looser team. Nothing to lose here. All the pressure on Alabama. And then I think you're going to see some real wrinkles. I think you're going to see Van Buren. Yeah. We know that mobile quarterbacks can give Bama issues. I think you're going to see a bunch of packages for him. So I think that the LSU offensive line won't completely ruin the game for them, much like South Carolina, which usually happens for them, but didn't against Alabama. And I think their defense can keep them in this game. I think you get a max effort from LSU. Now they're Super Bowl. I think the line is a bit too high. Tigers small, nothing big.
I wish I would have paid attention to some of the moves Brian Kelly was doing when he first got there, because he fired the strength and conditioning coach that had been at LSU for 21 years, and he got rid of the secondaries coach who had produced a ton of names that went into the NFL. Like, that was really the start of the downfall here. Interim coach Frank Wilson is taking over. He said in his presser, "I am adopting the tactics of Pete Carroll. I want to inject life, and I want to have one heartbeat." He bangs a drum before every practice, and it's so loud all the players can talk about is there's that drum. I mean, it's like this one heartbeat thing is some Houston Nutt shit. Like, this is what I heard at the end of Houston Nutt's tenure at Arkansas. One heartbeat. He came out and said Alex Atkins, the former FSU offensive coordinator and tight ends coach, is now the play caller. Running the ball is the priority. How much? He said it twice. So for that reason alone, I looked at the under. I'm still tweening on the under. It is dipping in the market from 49.5 down to 49. I think it's for that reason. But look, Alabama has struggled.
I think that's why you're going to see Van Buren.
Yeah. And I think Alabama has struggled to stop the run. I mean, 95th in line yards and 109th in stuff rate. Van Buren is going to be better for Caden Durham and for Harlem Berry, who were both 3.7 yards after first contact. It's the offensive line that's outside the top 100.
And it'll give them some balance finally. They've had no balance for 2 years.
Yeah. And listen, Ty Simpson's going to face an elite secondary here. 16 PBUs, 6 INTs from Delane, Woodland, Cooley, Halsey.
And pressure. He's going to be under pressure if Bama can't run it. There's going to be no passing downs.
I see your case for LSU. I like the under better.
Navy at Notre Dame.
Oh, man.
I mean, you just might as well wait. If you want to fade Notre Dame, just wait until game day. They take money every single week, like insane money. They're up to a 26.5, 27 at some places. Point favor against Navy. The Navy defense is dreadful. It's hard to see how they get stopped.
With one of the lowest strength of schedules in the nation.
Yeah. It's hard to see. I mean, the path to it gets a service academy catching over 2 touchdowns, but sometimes the talent gap is so wide. Like, this is the last time we saw Navy play Notre Dame, that it's hard for them to overcome that. Now, Navy had like 1 million turnovers in that game, but which didn't help. This comes down to this cover will come down to how many long drives can Navy sustain. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like if they can put together like 2 or 3 long drives, well, that'll just shrink the game, limit the amount of possessions, and then Notre Dame's not going to be able to cover 27.5. But if they go 3 and out a bunch, and then they're down 21-0, then it's going to get ugly.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this is a repeat of last year. I think this is the game that I said Notre Dame's going to post a 50 burger, and then I think they got there pretty fast. The run concept of Navy with Blake Horvath and running back Alex Texa, and then Heinrich and Chapman back there. Navy runs a heavy amount of 21 personnel, and everything they run, Notre Dame absolutely can defend. Counter, pull lead, fullback run. I mean, just considering the Navy's strength of schedule is 129th in the nation, Notre Dame has dominated power. They've dominated about 3 dozen pull leads with pulling guards, pulling tackles. They've dominated a 71% success rate. Against counter, they're 50%. So some Horvath counter made do something, but still Notre Dame's okay against that. And then Notre Dame 61% against play action pass. And that was the handicap last year about this. Are you going to get caught in the play action pass, which is where Navy is going to want to get their big plays? And Notre Dame didn't get caught last year, and they're not going to get caught here. I cannot believe how bad the numbers are for Navy defending outside zone. That's Notre Dame's number one run concept. This is what happened last year. So the question is, do you want Jordan Love at 2+ touchdowns minus 165, or do you want Jordan Love 3 touchdowns at plus 180? That's kind of where I'm sitting here. I do. Jadarian Price had a very subpar game against Boston College. I think I'm not going to put any bets on him. Maybe keep an eye and see if he's okay, or maybe just kind of schedule's working on him. So I do like Notre Dame team total over. I like Jeremiah Love at least 2+ TDs. I might throw a flyer on 3+ TDs because he also catches a ton of balls in the backfield. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, Notre Dame always takes money no matter what, and it like crosses keys. At 28.5, I probably will take Navy.
You're still not comfortable. No, you're still not comfortable.
I wouldn't be comfortable, but I have to. 28.5. It's my service guide. I mean, we might get there based on what I've seen from the market. It also doesn't help that Notre Dame was super sloppy at BC. Freeman all have their attention, and like, does Notre Dame needs to like.
They're 10th in the playoff,
probably going to make it, but like, there's people questioning their resume now, and then like, are they lost to Miami? That loss looks like their resume is being held up by a home win over USC, and then a close loss to A&M. But like the Miami loss looks worse. Boise is going to look worse. Arkansas is the only winless SEC team.
If Pitt keeps winning, though,
that Pitt might save them, because then they end the season with Syracuse and Stanford, and there's no conference championship game. So Notre Dame might want to like style out in these next 2 weeks.
This is for TV ratings. There's no world Notre Dame's not making the playoff with 2 losses.
It's possible, but it's not. All right, let's go head to head here. Wake at Virginia.
Why are you going against Virginia? I told you
because they're horrendous.
Devil.
They're horrendous. Do you want to go head to head here?
Yeah, I bet Virginia. I make it 8. I bet Virginia to start the week. It hasn't moved for me, but I don't care. I mean, that doesn't mean anything in a Virginia game. I mean,
so these teams are, to me, number one, the best unit on the field will be Wake's defense, which adjusted for opponents been a top 10, 15 unit. Last week, they got torched by Florida State. It was a horrible spot. I think that had a lot to do with it. But they also couldn't run the ball. You can't run the ball in Florida State. I think this is a much better matchup. And by the way, Florida State is significantly better than Virginia. I mean, this Virginia team, both these teams, this should be a 5-3 team versus a 5-3 team. Virginia has 8 wins. They should have 5. I mean, you're talking, they have 3 overtime wins. They beat Louisville because of 2 defensive touchdowns in overtime. They got outgained by 200 yards. They beat Washington State. They got outgained in that game on a walk-off safety. They beat North Carolina by 1 in overtime, got outgained by North Carolina, won by an inch because North Carolina didn't get there. They beat Cal. They deserved to win. But the only reason they won by more than 3 was the last-second pick 6. Who am I forgetting? They beat Florida State, got outgained in double overtime. Outgained in that game as well. I mean, this team is a fraud, a joke. I don't even have them in my top 50 of my power ratings. Wake's defense is legit. They should be able to slow down this Virginia team, which has been solved. This offense has not done much for a month and a half. Their defense, you can run on them a bit. Now, the run defense is better than the pass teams, but you can hit pass explosives. That's all Wake does. Pass explosives, and I think they can hit some here. Their defense will be the best unit on the field. There's not much difference between these teams at all.
Stop.
I'm serious.
There is a difference.
I think these two teams are
there is a difference
in the same class. I think they're on 4.
There is a difference. Virginia has a horseshoe up their ass this year.
It ends.
It does not end this week. It get unplugged. Robbie Ashford and Damon Claiborne are all explosive plays. Wake Forest's offense is 129th in offensive finishing drives. You have to hope to God that you hit an explosive, because the closer you get to the goal line, the less chance there is at Wake Forest to score. Plus, Wake is 50th in creating a contested catch. Chandler Morris and his voodoo magic can handle that. He's only had 2 turnover-worthy plays in the last 4 games. I'm telling you, this Virginia team is covering. It could be some pitchy woo-woo crap. I don't care what happens this weekend. Virginia is a team of destiny.
Wake outright. By the way, in all those Virginia wins I just mentioned, those 5 wins that could have been losses, and I'm talking games against UNC and Washington State, Cal. Virginia's also +8 in turnover margin in that game. It ends Saturday. Wake outright.
They're opposite of Arkansas. They know how to win.
They just play teams that know how to lose. Wake knows how to win.
Can we get Arkansas and Virginia in a bowl? I'll predict it. Arkansas fumbles at the goal line. Virginia runs it back. It'll be some Belk bullshit.
I can't handle that. All right. Wait, Clemson, FSU. What happens here? Does Clemson's? I think FSU's the better team right now. I think Clemson. Dabo's lost the defense. I mean,
yeah.
You saw him trying to yell at them, and they were like,
"I've never seen that in his career."
But then he was complaining about the refs. So does Clemson just get every call here? Because they did get shafted last week. So I don't know what gives. I don't know. Lean FSU. Probably have them in a round.
Florida State's getting pounded. It's going that way. I don't know.
I think Clemson's dead.
I think they are too. I don't know how you could put money on them. I make it Florida State -3. Yeah, I think you got. I don't know. I'm playing Florida State.
Quarterback situations worth monitoring. Stanford going with Brown. Not that it matters. BG. Who knows? Colorado going with Juju Lewis. That line is crazy, but I can't play Colorado. No. Scotty Fox, baby. And Colorado looks like a corpse. Can't play them going to Morgantown. The line might get to 7. Wisconsin going with the freshman at quarterback. I don't know. But some quarterback news to monitor. I'll mention some more on our live show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. By the way, the Action Network app, if you are new here and you do not have it, you are missing out on the full BBOC betting experience. Right now, get $20 off an annual subscription of Action Pro Access and never miss a bet for myself, Colin, Duck, the whole squad. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and use promo code BBOC20. Again, that's actionnetwork.com/pro, promo code BBOC20. All right, it's time for some trash. All right, let's run through this. You want to go head-to-head right off the bat? You want Nebraska?
UCLA's not winning this game.
Okay, head-to-head. UCLA is winning this game. I'll give you many reasons. One, the spot. Nebraska traveling across country off a loss that ended their season, not going to the college football playoff now. And by the way, these teams in the Big Ten that travel to the Central Time Zone or Eastern Time Zone, traveling to the West Coast, are 9-15 against the spread. They end to cover by about a field goal per game. Home field for these West Coast teams in this scenario is worth like 4.5 points. There's no Raiola. Oh, by the way, UCLA is coming off a bye. I think that's more important because of the new staff, which is a huge upgrade over the previous regime. You should see more wrinkles. Additionally, they should be able to run the ball here. Nebraska can't stop anyone from running the ball. Nobody. They also can't get pressure. They also can't stop the quarterback run game. Nico's legs should be huge here. And on the other side, Raiola is out. I think he's worth 7+ points because did you watch the backup Latif last week? The whole offense is designed around Raiola. UCLA can just stack the box here. There's tackle injuries for Nebraska. UCLA all day. What a spot. Anything under a field goal is fine for me.
Emmett Johnson's going to run like crazy.
Not if you stack the box. This kid can't throw the ball.
UCLA is done exploding on runs. Javian Thomas, Jalen Berger, they haven't produced a single explosive run the last 2 games against Maryland and Indiana. I can forgive you for against Indiana, but come on. This UCLA magic is over. I got hot on that. It was like a ride at the club, and I'm out. I'm in the Uber.
UCLA outright. Well, they're favored, so I hope. UTEP. You want to agree on this one?
Yeah. I took UTEP early in the week.
UTEP +1. Look, I think UTEP is one of the most undervalued teams in the country. Crazy to say, but their offense is way better with Locklear because Nelson is probably the worst quarterback of all time. They've started to show some life. Still a really bad offense, but their defense, adjusted for opponent, the only group of 5 defense, EPA per play wise, that's been better, San Diego State. That's it. This UTEP defense is legit. They can slow down Cam Cook if you do that. Camden Creel is not beating you through the air. I mean, this is 0 big-time throws on the year. One-dimensional offense. This UTEP defense is legit. I think you get their best effort here. They can still go to a bowl. And by the way, I think Kennesaw is one of the 2 best teams in the conference. UTEP should have beat them. I mean, they gave up 16 non-offensive points. There's a criminal officiating crew, and they outplayed Kennesaw on the field. And can we look at Jacksonville State, please? Okay? I know they've had a good year. Here are their wins. Murray State, Liberty when the Flames were a mess. And by the way, Liberty outgained them 534 to 390. Middle Tennessee by 3. They trailed multiple times in the fourth quarter. Sam Houston by 2 on a walk-off 52-yard field goal also trailed in the fourth quarter. And then a Delaware team that is reeling by 13. They got gifted a 21-0 lead in that game. Those are their wins. Murray State, Liberty, Middle Tennessee, Sam Houston, and Delaware. UTEP.
Yeah, Delaware is starting to look worse and worse week by week. UTEP,
they're still like FC, like they don't have the roster to withstand, like, so you're starting to see them wear down.
So Jacksonville State, 67% rush rate, and UTEP is extremely good against the rush. You also have to look at Jacksonville State on defense, 111th in defensive finishing.
Yeah, their defense is bad. Jacksonville State's defense is bad.
I like UTEP here.
What else was I going to say? Yeah, also Jacksonville State, huge game against Kennesaw for first place next week. Could be caught peeking at a tough spot. Temple. I need 7 here. Temple had, so I think it's a good buy low spot on Temple. You're also making Army beat you by more than a touchdown. Temple already saw the triple. They already played Navy. They should have beat Navy. A better offense than Army. And Army can't generate pressure. Can't stop the pass. I expect a bounce back game from this Temple offense. And, I mean, Simon's been great all year, besides last week. Really was, I think, affected by the conditions. And what happened in that game is Temple's defense, they were down 3 defensive starters in the secondary right off the bat. That's not good against ECU. I think they might get 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 back this week. But regardless, it won't be a huge deal against Army, not a passing team. Keeler, great coach. Temple going for bowl eligibility. I expect a bounce back here. Simon still has 21 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season. Army can't generate pressure, 119th. Bottom 10 dropback success rate. They can keep up. Already seen the triple. I like the Owls.
Yeah, I'm going to join you on it right now. I make this game 3.5.
Agree?
Yeah,
like 4.5.
Offense, 11th in offensive finishing drives. They have more advantages offensively than what Army has offensively. And Temple's D is pretty bad, but it's, if you're giving me a shootout, I'll take a TD or 6.5. But Temple has legit numbers on offense, like 33rd in havoc allowed, top 30 in passing success rate. I mean,
there's gonna be no pressure here. So
11th in finishing drive.
Simon can do his thing. And for crazily enough, Monken 13, 22, and 1 against the spread as a home favorite. Army, the 6th least profitable home team over the past 20 years. Pretty surprised. I was surprised to see that. But you would think, obviously, a team like Army, not a great favorite. BC, red bandana game, baby. RIP Wells. Boston College, undervalued right now. Why? They're finally healthier. This is the most injury-ravaged team in the country for the first 2 months of the year. What have they done the last 2 weeks since they've been a lot healthier? They were down 1 possession to Louisville and down 1 possession to Notre Dame in the fourth quarter. SMU, horrible spot. They won in overtime because Miami is undisciplined and Mario is going to Mario on the road. That game was over if they don't get a personal foul in 4th and 8. Jennings isn't healthy. They can't run the ball. They still can't defend the pass. BC can't run the ball, which is fine because you can't run it against SMU. Bill O'Brien will be in his bag. BC will be ready. Early kick. We already saw what SMU did when they went to Wake. This is a horrible spot for SMU. BC, max effort game. Give me the Eagles catching double digits.
No. I mean, you're right. It is. No, I'm not going head-to-head. It is the spot. I don't back teams who just had their goalposts taken down, all right, and then throw it into the pond. It's a nice pond. But it's just too far. Like, it's already accounted for. It should be like 12.5, 13. So,
nope. I think it should be 9.5. All right. I really think BC is undervalued right now because of all the injury situations they dealt with. All right, one more. Yeah, UConn. UConn against Duke. So this game means nothing to Duke. By the way, we got the 6% win probability last week. Duke will beat itself whenever it wants. But here's the thing. Duke can't defend the pass at all. And that's what UConn can do. I mean, this team, they can't tackle also. Yards after catch galore. That's UConn's offense. On the other side of the ball, UConn's run D is really bad, which is why they lost to Rice, which is why they almost lost to Ball State. But their pass D is much better, and they can get pressure. Their defensive coordinator is really good, mixes up coverages really well. And this is a Duke team that is just all pass. So, the horrible spot for Duke off the Clemson win. They have Virginia next week for a spot in the ACC title. UConn almost beat them last year in Durham. They lost 26-21. This is a huge game for UConn. Mora Jr., Fagnano. By the way, Fagnano has 25 touchdowns and no interceptions on the year. Insane.
Yeah.
Give me UConn. This game will go down to the wire.
He's got
Duke special teams are a disaster too. They'll mess this up. Duke games are so dumb.
UConn is going to be a play-on bowl team. I think it's interesting. I think there must have been a service release on Duke. I don't know why I got down to 8.5 and kind of blown up.
It got bought by a couple groups at 8.5. We thought it was too low, but what's it at now? Is it 9.5?
Yeah. Why would you get it in this spot? Why would you even want to touch Duke in this spot? It doesn't make any sense. But
just numbers players.
Yeah, UConn's passing numbers are legit. On Fagnano, 14 big-time throws to 4 turnover-worthy plays. Like, he is cool as a cucumber. 1.1% turnover-worthy play.
Duke's secondary is a disaster.
I know. I
can't tackle either. Everything, like, they allow so much after the catch. Here's some 3 EMU as a favorite. I think is worth a look. PG, I think, is dead. I mean, they're getting arrested. I don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. I think they're dead. Ark State.
Did the quarterback get arrested?
I don't even know if they have any healthy quarterbacks on the roster. Ark State, it's too high against your Southern Miss boys. I think they might win. Sorry. And this one's the ugliest of all. I don't know what you're going to get from them. They've been off for 2 weeks. Georgia State. I mean, Coastal Carolina has been so much better with Collier. It's crazy, the 4th-string quarterback. But this is a different role. Now we're over 7. I think there's some value in Georgia State.
So right. I'm not gonna go out and let's put this on the board. But for those of you out there that have a 40-1 on Southern Miss, Arkansas State is money wise in my round robin this week of 7 teams by far.
All right, that'll do it for trash. Let's go nowhere fast. San Diego State at Hawaii. It's a good one.
Yeah. And it's not at midnight. It's actually at 10 o'clock Central. So we actually be able to watch this and not fall asleep. Open 51, steamed down a little bit. Really, Hawaii has no answer for Lucky Sutton on the ground. Denegal leads San Diego State with a rank of 7th in pass EPA. They are so explosive. Deep shots and Lucky Sutton running. I just don't see Hawaii on the defensive numbers that they have answering any of that. Then again, Hawaii is going to try to pass against a San Diego State. And that's all that Hawaii does, right? It's all that Timmy wants to do is pass. San Diego State's coverage unit is 2nd per PFF, and they're number 1 in the nation in defensive passing success rate. I'm actually taking the under here because I'm not sure Hawaii is going to contribute. So from a nowhere fast perspective, I like the under.
Chris Johnson, one of the best corners in college football for San Diego State. That defense is legit.
What's Hawaii going to do? Start running the ball? They don't do that.
Funny things happen on the island. All right. No, Colin, you can't lose to the bye this week. No heartbreak for Arkansas fans. Congrats.
Gives us a week to go talk to Jeff Brom, get him down here.
By the way, Isaac Brown out for Louisville. Big loss. Maybe not this week, but their offense hums. They need him. Now, Duke Watson might come back, and he needs to be healthy because with the other Brown, it's not the same. You can't just have Miller Moss dropping back behind that offensive line without Isaac Brown and the run threat and the play action. And it's a potential big loss because Louisville to get to the ACC championship, I think if they win out, they'll get there. But they face Clemson. They might still be okay against Clemson. Like Clemson might just be quit. But against SMU, now maybe not against SMU because you can't run it on SMU anyway, but just keep that in mind. The offense is just not the same without Isaac Brown. We saw it against Miami. When he was popping, everything looked so much better. When he wasn't healthy early in the year, it didn't look the same. All right, before we get out of here, let's go. 3 and out. All right, Friday Night Lights. Houston at UCF.
I make UCF a 4.5-point favorite.
That's crazy. I don't know what to expect here from Houston. Like they had Dream Crusher last week, but Fritz is a really good coach. I expect them to have. And then like what happened to UCF at Baylor?
I know.
I don't know. I'd lean under here.
I like the under in the USC Northwestern game. I'm not sure Northwestern's going to score. I think USC team total over could be good.
I have no feel there. I'm on market. You want to go head-to-head, Tulane, Memphis?
What the hell? No, if somebody would like to enlighten me why the hell this thing's going the other way. We got some more Brendan Lewis. Like he's not going to play crap floating out there. Like you can't trust anything that comes out of Silverfield's camp. So I don't know why this number is down.
I don't think he's going to play.
That's the only reason why this is going down.
I don't think he's going to play. So I bet Tulane speculatively. Just based on,
We
I
need
don't
to hit
know anything.
pause and you tell me why you think that?
I don't know anything. I'm just reading tea leaves, reading things.
Well, how did he play last week? And
Also, the market. Someone,
I know what's going on in the
I think
market.
someone knows.
I'm getting a couple tweets about it. I'm like, listen,
I think someone knows that he's out. But this happened with USF, and then he
I
played.
know.
But he did get hurt again last week, and like they need him to move, and their offense is built around him.
Could they afford to lose this because now they have the tiebreaker? Can they afford to lose this in the American standings?
No.
Okay, well,
North Texas is going to win out.
Sat there and played like he wasn't going to play against South Florida, and then he played. And I'm supposed to believe this move the other way?
Yeah, but like he really did get hurt again, and I don't think he's been practicing. From a couple things I read, so he could. I don't know. That's the speculative move I got. So I guess you want to stay away for now.
I'm staying away, but man, this here we go. Set your clocks on your phone.
I bet it's small. If you saw it, yeah, that's why I speculating. I also think you're going to get Tulane's best effort here after they got embarrassed last week, and Summerall's a good coach. We'll have him ready.
They have a good defense to defend that zone read of Memphis. So,
well, not if Lewis isn't in there. All right, second down. Favorite overdog. Favorite. I'll start. TCU. Anything 7 or better is fine. I think they roll Iowa State. Iowa State's dead dog walking. They can't get pressure. Secondary's a mess. They're going to get carved up here. Give me the Frogs.
Yeah, I'm going Notre Dame. I think this is 50 burger. I think it's the same exact script from last year. They're 10th in the college football playoff rankings. They need something that looks a little bit flashy, and what Navy has run concept both sides of the ball is bad news for Navy. So I think Notre Dame lays it or goes hard on this.
All right, Underdog Moneyline Parlay. Going Kentucky. This is, I don't know if Florida gets off the bus. I mean, after the Georgia effort, by the way, they have games against who they got? Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida State left. Now they go to Lexington, nothing to play for. Kentucky playing with a lot of confidence against a rival. They'll show up here. You don't have the coaching bump from last week. And then more importantly, who's Lagway throwing to? I told you about Eugene Wilson. He was the focal point of the offense. I told you he was popping off over the bye. He's out. Dallas Wilson, he's out. Mizell, Bruno Brown, they might be out again. Who's left? Sturdivant? They got to throw to Sturdivant 50 times? Hopefully the refs just called it not a catch when they do every time. Who's left? I don't know. Florida also can't get pressure at all. So Boley will be comfortable. You also have to attack this Florida defense. Plays a lot of too high. You have to get yards after the catch, short pass. That's Kentucky's offense. Kentucky's defense, now that Lagway doesn't have any receivers, they're good against the run. This is just a bad spot. Cats win.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go. If your book will allow you to do this, my books do. I'm gonna go Wisconsin first half money line. It's sitting at plus 240. I'm not sure what's going on with Washington when they travel. I'm not sure. Against Michigan, 7 points total, a touchdown in the second quarter. Against Maryland, did not even score in the first half. Against Penn State in November of 24, no TDs. And then IU, Iowa, Rutgers, they scored 16, 17, and 18 respectively. I don't know what's going on with this Washington team over a span of a 2-year sample. They cannot travel whatsoever. They're going into Wisconsin, who's actually limiting Oregon, who's actually doing stuff defensively. Wisconsin,
Wisconsin limited Oregon. You know they didn't limit? Iowa.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say this. Washington takes a while to wake up. Give me Wisconsin, first half money line, plus 240.
I don't mind this because you also could see the freshman for Wisconsin, Carter Smith, at quarterback.
Yeah.
And there's some variance there. And he might give them some juice. So that's always nice with a bigger money line. So we're going Kentucky and Wisconsin, first half money line. By the way, voicemails 959 bad beat recap. We'll have a recap show on Sunday. Be out Monday morning. We'll talk the weekday slate as well. Agree. Penn State, yes. Call about it. Cry about it. Bitch at us. UTEP. Yep. You're not going to like any of these. Temple. Head-to-heads. I got Iowa. Colin has Oregon. I have Mississippi State. He has Georgia. I have Wake. He has Virginia for odds. I have UCLA. He has Nebraska. I mean, up 8-5, 16-12 all time. Could make a dent.
Are you going to show up Sunday if Virginia covers on some miraculous BS?
Nope. You're doing the show on your own. That'll do it for us. Thanks to Colin for joining me. Thanks to our producer David on the back end. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Also, if you want to tail some of the bets we discussed, look for the quick slip link in the video and podcast description or visit actionnetwork.com/betnow. Thanks to DraftKings. Like I said, we'll be back Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern for the live show. Recap episode Monday. Check out the group of 5 guys if you haven't. Always do a good job. Oh, by the way, we forgot. Only for the ones, the true diehards that stay. FCS or no? Citadel catching 54? Yes. You think Lane prepared for the triple option? No, sir.
He didn't prepare for Wazoo.
Didn't prepare for Wazoo. Citadel, triple option, catching 54. I don't care if they can't get any stops. They'll hold it enough. That'll do it for us. See you back here Saturday. We'll see you back here Monday. See you online on Saturday. Catch y'all later. Cheers.
Peace out.